My beloved child, before you hasten to take another step, I want you to quiet your heart and let the noise around you fall away. For there are moments that cannot be discerned through haste, but only received by a spirit that reverently listens. I am speaking to you of an hour not fashioned by human design, nor imagined by your emotions, but a moment inscribed within my intention long before you drew your first breath upon the earth. Do not treat it as a fleeting sign and allow it to pass through your life unnoticed. For what I am opening in this season is not a passing inspiration, but an appointed door. As it is written, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. Therefore, what is coming upon you is not coincidence, but the meeting point between promise and timing, between what I have spoken and the day I have chosen to set it into motion. For this reason, I am not calling you into fear, but into awakening. There were seasons when you were taught to wait, to take root quietly, to allow me to refine the hidden parts of you unseen by others. Yet there are also seasons when I command your soul to rise, to respond, to move in obedience without hesitation. This is one of those seasons. Do not mistake the previous silence for meaningless delay, for not a single day of your life has slipped from my hand. The years you thought you were being held back were the very years I was building endurance within you, discernment within you, and the depth required so that when the door opens, you will not enter as one impulsive, but as one prepared, as I have spoken through the prophet. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay. Habakkuk 2:3. This means that when I appoint my hour, no power can push it back, and no weakness in you can undo it, as long as your heart remains bowed before me. Do not think that what I am doing is merely adjusting a few outward details of your life. No, I am touching the foundation itself, altering your rhythm, separating you from old limitations and from the dust of weariness, delay, and self-doubt that once settled upon your vision. There were veils that obscured what I desired you to see, and old patterns of thought that caused you to hesitate before new doors. But now I am tearing away the former things, so that you no longer live confined within yesterday's narrow room. Remember that when Christ completed the work of redemption, it was not only an event upon the earth, but a shift in the spiritual order. Barriers that once divided no longer held the same authority. In the same way, limitations that once ruled over you will lose their dominion when you truly believe what I am now doing. For I am not the one who merely patches your life, I recreate it. And in the midst of this journey, let this word sink into the deepest place within you. Behold, I make all things new. Revelation 21:5. I do not only renew circumstances, I renew your heart, your vision, your response, and even the way you walk with yourself. Do you know why many souls stand before the day of open doors and yet still miss it? It is not because I have forgotten them, but because they have grown so accustomed to delay that when the appointed moment truly arrives, they no longer recognize the call. So today I remind you, do not slumber in the season I am awakening. Do not allow old disappointments to cause you to doubt the hand that is now at work. Do not say that you must see everything before you believe. For the just shall live by faith. Romans 1:17. And faith is not blind recklessness, but the opening of the heart to trust the one who sees what you cannot yet see. When I command you to stand firm, I am not telling you to become rigid, but to keep your heart rightly positioned, not retreating, not panicking, not running ahead of me, and not remaining stuck in stagnation. The holy urgency I place within you is not the frantic rush of the world. It is a sacred propulsion that lets you know, This is no longer the time to waver between old and new, between fear and obedience, between the familiar and the call of destiny. Remember the story of the lame man who sat at the beautiful gate of the temple, a man who had lived for years, expecting nothing more than a few coins of mercy. Unaware that the day his life would change was already standing before him. Scripture tells us that Peter and John were going up to the temple at the hour of prayer, the 9th hour. And at that very moment, a man long confined to the margins was drawn out of his former destiny. He believed he needed money to survive another day. Yet what I had appointed to give him was far greater, the restoration of dignity, of movement, of position, and of praise. When Peter declared, "In the name of Jesus Christ, rise up and walk," the man did not merely stand upon his feet. He stepped into a life entirely different from the one he had known. Do you see? The hour of prayer became the hour of transformation. The place of begging became a place of testimony. And what seemed destined to repeat itself day after day was abruptly ended by the visitation of heaven. In the same way, there are areas in your life that have been framed by habits of defeat, by memories of sorrow, by lack or by shame. Yet in the moment I choose. One word from heaven is sufficient to break the old cycle and place you where you never imagined you could stand. Therefore, instead of continually asking whether you are worthy, ask your heart whether you are ready to respond. What I seek is not a flawless person, but a tender heart that trembles at my word and dares to move when I say move. I do not require you to bring self-generated strength to prove yourself. I require surrender. For within surrender flows a power your own effort can never produce. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts, Zechariah 4:6. So do not fear if you feel small before a great door. It is precisely when you recognize your insufficiency that there is room for my power to fill you. The greatest hindrance is not weakness, but clinging to the old simply because it is familiar. Yet, I am leading you out of what is familiar, not to confuse you, but to bring you into a place broader, higher, and brighter, where you no longer live merely to endure, but to fulfill what I have entrusted to you. So now, do not view this season as a heavy pressure, but as a glorious summons. I am calling you into what is new, not with a heart trembling in anxiety, but with a spirit illuminated by the certainty that the one who promised is faithful. I am raising you from invisible ashes, breathing life into dreams you believed had fallen asleep, gathering the fragments of former years and building from them a testimony of my power. You will not enter tomorrow as the same person if today you allow my word to reach the deepest place within you. Stop calling yourself by the name of failure. Stop defining your life by doors that once closed. Stop living as one governed by the past. I have spoken, and my word does not return void. What I have appointed for you will blossom in its season, and from the deepest place within, I want you to hear this clearly. The hour of renewal has drawn near to you, not for you to stand and observe, but for you to step into. I am doing a new thing, and if you open your heart, you will not only see it, you will live within it. Beloved child, let your heart settle in gentle reverence, for I do not come to stir you with vague sounds, but to place within your soul a certainty that comes from my throne. There were seasons when you walked through fog, days when you thought the promise had been held somewhere far away, stretches of road so long that you believed time itself had turned its back on you. Yet I declare to you that none of those things has the authority to define your future any longer. What once drained you will no longer rule you. What once cast shadows over your sight will not obscure the light I am now kindling. I am the one who holds the appointed times of the seasons, and when my hand touches the clock of your life, no force in heaven, on earth, or beneath the earth can shut what I have determined to open. As it is written, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29:11. Therefore do not interpret this season through the lens of old failures. See it through the eyes of faith. For I am not dragging you wearily into another phase. I am shifting you into a new orbit by my own authority. I want you to understand this deeply. When I appoint the time, you do not need to strain yourself to force the door open. For I am the one who has already gone before you and laid my hand upon the latch. Many grow weary throughout their lives because they assume every door must be opened by their own strength. But I have not called you into fruitless striving. I have called you into timely response. There is a vast difference between a restless soul and an obedient one. Restlessness drives you to run ahead of me until you collapse along the way. But obedience enables you to walk in my rhythm and witness the path opening precisely when it is needed. Therefore, I declare that this is not merely a shift in atmosphere around you, but a decree released over your journey, a decree that dry pathways be made clear, that the sluggish rhythm which once weighed down your years be broken, that the position which rightfully belongs to you no longer remain concealed, and that what I buried within you like seed rise from the soil and stand in the light. As it is written, I will go before you and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of bronze and cut the bars of iron. Isaiah 45:2. Do you see? I am not merely telling you to believe there will be a way. I am the one who creates the way. Therefore, you must no longer speak of your life as though you are still confined to an old chapter. I am closing seasons that lingered too long, periods when you did nothing but wait, question, and endure silence without answers. Not every delay was meaningless. For many times I used postponement to purify impatience, silence to deepen the roots of your faith, and unopened doors to teach you how to live without dependence on sight. Yet the hour comes when I will no longer leave you standing outside, because the preparation is sufficient. The foundation is complete, and your soul has learned what it needed to learn. From this moment forward, what once caused you to doubt will lose its voice. What once chained your thoughts to fear will dissolve like mist before the sun, and the limits you believed were destiny will reveal themselves as fragile walls before my breath. For with God nothing will be impossible. Luke 1:37. Do not measure my work by the scale of past experience. For I do not repeat your life in yesterday's circles. I am breaking that cycle to lead you into a straight line of purpose. Listen carefully. My beloved, when commands are issued from heaven, everything around them begins to align. When I say, it is time to open the way, what was stuck will begin to flow. When I declare acceleration, what once moved hesitantly will be drawn into a new cadence. When I call you into position, you need not compete to be seen, for my own light will establish you where you belong. When I touch what has been hidden, the truth I planted within you will no longer remain dormant. The gifts you have carried without soil in which to bloom will find their appointed season, and the encounters ordained for you will not arrive as accidents, but as sacred arrangements. Heaven does not operate in chaos. All that I do moves in order. When I commission my messengers to move concerning your life, it is not to create spectacle, but to serve the purpose I wrote for you from the beginning. As the psalm declares, He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. Therefore, do not fear the changes that are coming, for they are not sent to cast you into confusion, but to set you firmly within the current I have ordained. I also want you to remember a story that few pause to consider, yet it holds a key for this very season. After the fire fell from heaven upon Mount Carmel, when falsehood was exposed and the people saw who the true God was, Scripture records that the hand of the Lord came upon Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. 1 Kings 18:46. Reflect on that. A man did not run by ordinary strength, but because my hand rested upon him, he outran the king's chariot. This was not merely a miracle of the body, it was a sign of acceleration that comes from heaven. When my hand is upon you, you can go farther than your own strength would allow, reaching places you once believed you could never attain in time. Not so that you may boast of being faster than others, but so that you may know that when I appoint a time for you, I also grant the capacity suited to that time. You will not be left behind simply because former years moved slowly. If my hand rests upon you, I can turn what seemed like wasted years into the launching ground for a greater stride. I can cause a soul once covered in weariness to walk in clarity, confidence, and influence beyond anything it previously dared to imagine. Therefore, do not try to push yourself into the future through anxiety. Do not turn my calling into a burden upon your shoulders. I am not asking you to break down doors by your own force. I am asking you to remain close enough to me to recognize the moment I open them. When I shift the dimension of time in which you are living, you will sense an inner change of rhythm before outward circumstances fully align. What once dragged will begin to move. What once operated within narrow limits will expand. Your reach will no longer be confined to familiar circles, for I am widening the radius of your influence farther, deeper, broader, not to exalt you, but so that my purpose may extend into places it has not yet touched. Enlarge the place of your tent. Do not hold back. Isaiah 54:2. This is how I speak to your soul. Do not shrink yourself to the size of your past. Do not rebuild the walls I am dismantling. Do not measure tomorrow's field by yesterday's fear. So, my beloved, step into this hour with the solemn awareness of one standing before a decree, not a passing emotion. I am bringing you to a turning point in a portion of your life long unopened. And from that point, many things will shift. What was hidden will be revealed. What lay dormant will awaken. What belonged to you but had not yet arrived in its proper time will begin to find its way to you in my order. Guard your heart from bitterness, for bitterness clouds vision when doors open. Guard your mind from chaos, for chaos causes you to miss heaven's signal. Stand in peace, for peace is fertile ground where my commands take root. As the Lord has spoken, behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? Isaiah 43:19. I am doing that very thing in your life, not in some distant, undefined future, but in the season I have appointed. Your part is not to prove yourself worthy, but to believe, receive, and step rightly. My part is to open, to lead, to uphold, and to complete. Therefore lift up your head, my beloved child, for the season of restraint is closing, and the season opened by my hand is beginning to speak over your life. My beloved child, let your soul grow still before me, and receive this as a seed of light planted in the deepest place within you. I am not merely altering the circumstances around you, I am positioning you where you belong within the greater design of heaven. Yet you must understand clearly, the place I appoint for you is not a seat of comfort, nor a stage upon which pride is stroked by the applause of men. It is a sacred standing, a strategic placement within the flow of my purpose for an entire generation. Some believe that when I elevate them, it means being displayed in the light for all to see. But often the most precious gift I give is not exposure, but placement. I do not raise you to become the center. I set you in position so that my will may be fulfilled through your life. As it is written, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Ephesians 2:10. Therefore do not look at your new role through the lens of the flesh, as though it were merely a change in function or circumstance. See it as a divine commissioning, where each step you take begins to carry weight beyond your personal story. I want you to know that what I initiate within you at the appointed hour will not end at the boundary of personal emotion or immediate benefit. There are commissions that, once opened, will touch people you have never met, territories you have never walked, and generations you will never physically see. In my sight, your life is not a fragment that drifts by and disappears. It is a link within a long chain of purpose. There are words I speak over one person whose echo resounds for years, like a small seed sown that later produces a harvest, feeding many who come after. For this reason, what I am doing is not small. I am not merely turning you to a new page. I am inscribing a chapter whose influence stretches farther than you presently comprehend. As I declared to Abraham, in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Genesis 12:3. A life that truly walks in obedience never touches only itself. When you stand in the position I have appointed, blessing does not stop with you. It flows outward and becomes a pathway through which others find light. So do not be alarmed when you sense something shifting within you, as though the old rhythm of life no longer fits your soul. This is not a sign of chaos. It is a change of current. When a river alters its course by the hand of its creator, old banks tremble, familiar ground cracks, and former pathways no longer appear the same. Yet this does not mean everything is collapsing. Often what you call instability is evidence that I am drawing you out of a place too narrow for your new assignment. Do not fear the acceleration that is coming, for it is not the pressure of the world demanding that you run to keep up. It is the wind of my spirit lifting your steps so that you move at the pace of the new season. The wind blows where it wishes, so is everyone who is born of the Spirit. John 3:8. You do not need to fully explain the wind before following its direction. You only need to know that if it comes from me, it will not tear you apart. It will carry you into the course I have ordained for you. I also tell you not to tremble before the new role, as though it were a heavy stone laid upon your shoulders. What I entrust to you is never a burden meant to crush an obedient soul. It is the true shape of the calling I placed within you from the beginning. For many years, you sensed that you were called, yet you did not fully understand what you were called to. There were quiet longings, holy stirrings, moments when your heart knew it could no longer remain confined within its former narrow frame, though you could not name what you felt. Today I tell you, that was the echo of the position I prepared for you. You are not becoming someone foreign to yourself. You are drawing nearer to the person I intended you to be. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. Therefore, this new place is not unfamiliar in my sight. It is only new to your understanding. Remember Nehemiah, who did not stand in shining armor upon a battlefield, nor sit upon a throne for all to behold, but served quietly as cupbearer to a king in a foreign palace. His position seemed small, hidden behind the doors of power rather than displayed at its center. Yet it was there that I stationed him as a strategic point for the appointed hour of his people. When the time came, the sorrow over the ruined city ignited within him, and from a discreet servant I shaped him into a rebuilder of walls, a restorer of dignity, a leader who awakened the spirit of a nation. Had Nehemiah measured his life only by outward appearance, he might have believed it would circle endlessly within routine duties. But when he looked through the light I gave him, he understood that the palace was preparation for a far greater door. So it is with you. Do not despise what I am forming in secret, and do not belittle the position into which I am moving you, simply because it differs from human expectation. Many times, heaven's strategy is planted where men scarcely notice, and from that hidden ground the future of a generation begins to turn. Therefore, stop asking whether you are strong enough to carry what lies ahead, and begin asking whether your heart is supple enough to obey. In my design, readiness is more precious than display, and surrender opens more paths than fleshly confidence ever could. I do not require that you enter your new role with flawless appearance. I require that you step into it knowing your sufficiency flows from me. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. When I command you to rise, I also empower your legs. When I call you to readiness, I am already adjusting your inner life. When I send you forward, the ground before you has been measured by my hand. Do not turn my summons into a private anxiety. Do not put on tomorrow's armor when I am teaching you today's step. Every command I give carries grace sufficient for its fulfillment. So now, my beloved, I speak with the solemn authority of the one who holds time and appoints seasons. Rise above every low thought that once caused you to shrink. Prepare your heart as one who stands before a true threshold. Move forward, not in the cry of fear, but in the calm assurance of one who has heard the Father's voice. What approaches is not chaos to consume you, but the right current to bring you into the right place. What increases is not pressure to suffocate you, but a holy wind lifting your steps into a new orbit. What opens before you is not a strange burden, but the position for which you were born. Therefore, do not bow to the feeling of smallness. Do not retreat because you believe yourself unready. If I have called you, the call itself carries the power to accomplish what it demands. Hear my words as a trumpet awakening your soul. Stand firm in faith. Prepare yourself as one set apart, and walk as one upon whom my hand rests. For your place is opening, and once you enter it with me, your life will no longer revolve in old cycles, but will move within the living purpose I have ordained for this generation. My beloved child, I do not come to you now as a trumpet resounding in the public square, but as a warm hand resting upon the weary brow you have carried for so long. I am still the one who speaks, and all creation responds. Still the one who holds time and appoints the seasons of your life. Yet in this moment, I draw near with a gentleness that heals. I desire not only to awaken your spirit, but to soothe it, not only to commission you, but to restore you. I know there are places within you that have waited so long that even hope learned to whisper instead of sing. There are chambers of your heart that have endured such extended silence that they scarcely dare to expect real change. But you must know this: I have never overlooked a single sigh you have breathed, never disregarded a dry season you have walked through, never dismissed the quiet fractures left by delay. As it is written, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. Therefore, when I call you into a new hour, I do not drag you forward like one urging an exhausted traveler. I touch you like cool water flowing over cracked ground, so that before blossoms appear, your soul may drink deeply of my tenderness. I have not trained you to become hardened like stone, nor refined you to strip away the softness that reflects heaven's beauty within you. What I am shaping is depth, stillness, radiance, and breadth inside your being. There are vessels that cannot receive new wine if they have become rigid with bitterness, sealed shut by hurt, or warped by prolonged waiting. I care not only about what I will place in your hands, but about the condition of your heart when you receive it. There have been days when I did not hurry to open a door because I was still widening the interior space of your spirit. There were seasons when I withheld what you asked, not in neglect, but in preparation, so that when it arrived, you could carry it without losing peace. Walk in it without shattering under pressure. Hold it with humility and maturity. Remember this word: a bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick He will not snuff out, Isaiah 42:3. That is how I deal with you. I do not approach your fragile places to condemn them. I come to lift them. I do not touch your wounds to deepen the pain. I breathe new life into them, so that where there were cracks, light will begin to shine through. So do not fear the subtle movement you sense within. Not every change from heaven begins with thunder. Sometimes it comes like the first breeze of a new season brushing across a dry field, quiet, yet enough for the earth to know the old season is ending. Sometimes it arrives like the soft light of late afternoon pouring through a window, not harsh, yet sufficient to redraw the shape of the room. Sometimes it is like water threading through stone, so gentle one might call it small, yet persistent enough to carve a passage where none seemed possible. Understand this: my power is not revealed only in dramatic upheaval. It is also revealed in gentleness that can redirect a soul. When Elijah stood upon Horeb, the great wind that tore the mountains was not where I manifested myself. The earthquake was not my chosen sign. The fire was not my final declaration. After them came a still small voice, 1 Kings 19:12. And there I made myself known. That story is not merely for remembrance. It is a key for this hour. After the storms you have carried within, I do not need to arrive with another shaking. I may come with a voice quiet enough not to crush you, yet authoritative enough to rebuild your entire life from the inside out. I know there have been times when you wondered why you still feel weary, even though you believe. Why you still ache, even though you pray. Why your heart sometimes feels dry, even while you strive to remain faithful. Do not be ashamed of that. A tired soul is not a failed soul. Often those who have walked with me the longest are the very ones I hold most gently, because they have carried much in silence. I have seen the moments when words would not come. I have seen the afternoons when your spirit sank low like fading light along an empty porch. I have seen the nights when you still turned toward me, yet inside you scarcely had strength left to burn. And I declare that I do not rebuke you for being weary. I only invite you to release the strain of self-effort and relearn the rest found in me. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. That promise is not addressed to some distant crowd. Today, I speak it personally to you. Rest does not mean abandoning the journey. Rest means allowing your heart to cease its panic, your breath to slow, your soul to remember that I am the source, and you are not required to rescue yourself from every delayed season. For this reason, when I speak of the appointed time set over your life, I do not want you to imagine it as a whirlwind hurling you into new pressure. This is also the hour in which I heal the way you enter your future. I do not only open doors before you, I cleanse the dust of former corridors still clinging to your memory. I do not only call you forward, I lift from your shoulders the weight of days that once caused you to doubt your worth. Many step into a new season while still carrying the wounds of the old, and so they cannot fully receive what is new because they fear it will disappear. I do not desire that for you. I want you to move like water flowing from a deep spring, quiet yet certain, like dawn that does not wrestle with the night, yet steadily causes darkness to retreat, like a tender branch after winter. Not loud yet undeniable proof that life has returned. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. New strength is not only strength to run farther, it is strength to trust again, to soften again, to open your heart again after seasons that tempted you to close it. So, my beloved, do not fear if you have felt more sensitive, more reflective, more easily moved by my voice lately. This is not weakness. It is the shedding of hardened layers so your heart may live again. I am making your soul like soil after the first rain of the season, no longer brittle, no longer cracked, but tender enough for my seed to take root. I am making your inner life like a lake at dusk, no longer stirred by every noise. but calm enough to reflect the heavens. I am causing my voice within you to become like water through stone, unforced, unshouted, yet unstoppable. And within this gentleness, the prophetic authority of the appointed hour remains intact. I am still the one who sets the day, the hour, and the season over you. I am simply allowing you to feel that the same hand that can part seas is the hand that wipes tears. The same voice that commands doors to open wide is the whisper that steadies your trembling soul. Therefore, lay down unnecessary defenses and allow your heart to be healed, even as you are called forward. For I am not only preparing you for the great door ahead, I am preparing your heart to cross its threshold while preserving the holy softness that makes you truly mine. Now, in this stillness, filled with light, I want you to receive one final truth. You have not been left behind. You have been kept warm for the proper time. You were not forgotten in the waiting. You were being deepened to hold something greater. You were not destined to remain dry. The spring has been finding its way back within you. And when I cause the new portion of your life to begin moving, it will come not only with the command of the one who governs time, but with the gentle breath of a father over his beloved child. So, remain seated a little longer in my presence, allowing your heartbeat to relearn the rhythm of peace, your breathing to relearn the cadence of trust, your soul to remember that heaven's power does not only lift you upward, it gathers you close. From that place, when I call, you will rise not as one who merely survived a storm, but as one healed by the very one who walked with you through the longest night. My beloved, let me place this image within you slowly. Like a slant of evening light leaning through a window, your soul is like a garden that has passed through many seasons of weather and many seasons of tears. There were beds of flowers that once burst forth so beautifully that even you were surprised by what I had planted within you. Stretches of soil once tender and green, convincing you that everything would continue to grow in peace. Yet there were also corners that dried quietly beneath the heat of waiting. Vines of fear that crept across places meant to remain free. Shadows cast by unanswered prayers and unresolved questions. Through the years, you have tried to tend that garden with your own hands, pulling weeds, turning soil, preserving what remained alive, and at times you reproached yourself for the tangled places, the barren patches, the areas that did not bear fruit as you hoped. But hear this clearly. I have never looked upon your garden with condemnation. I see it as the gardener sees it, aware of every layer of earth, every hidden root, every seed buried so deeply that even you forgot it was there. As it is written, I, the Lord, keep it. I water it continually, lest any hurt it. I keep it night and day. Isaiah 27:3. Even when you believed you were tending a solitary field, not one night did I turn my gaze away from the soil of your soul. What I now release upon you is not a violent storm to frighten you, nor a torrent meant to sweep away what remains fragile. It is like a gentle rain arriving at the appointed hour, falling without harm, yet penetrating deeply and steadily enough to awaken what lies dormant beneath. Some miracles come with thunder that shakes mountains, but others arrive like quiet rain, soaking into the ground through the night. And only at dawn does one realize the field has changed. The 9th hour I have set over your life carries that same gentleness. It does not push you into fear, it softens the ground of your heart. It does not overwhelm you, it moves into the unseen roots beneath the surface. It does not force life to erupt with noise, it whispers to the seed that it is time to awaken. As I have spoken, I will pour water on the thirsty land, and streams on the dry ground. Isaiah 44:3. This promise is not only for deserts beyond you, but for those inner places once cracked by long waiting. I do not condemn those dry regions. I water them. I do not recoil from the tangled memories and fears. I untangle them with the patient hand of a father. I do not turn away from the heavy portions within you. I bend down to lift them. For what I do is not driven by the clamor of circumstance, but by the right timing of love and the unfolding of my design. Do you know why at times you feel most exhausted? It is not only because the journey has been long, but because you tried to be the sole gardener of your own soul. You examined every leaf, worried over every sprout, grieved each withered branch, and concluded that if some corner failed to bloom, you must have failed as well. Yet I never placed upon you the burden of saving the entire garden within. I simply invited you to open the gate and let me enter. There are roots buried too deep for your hands to reach, stones lodged too firmly for your strength to lift, seeds you assumed were dead that you do not possess the power to revive. Only I can do these things. Only I know when to prune and when to leave untouched, when to water and when to wait, when to summon spring and when to allow winter its work. He determines the number of the stars. He calls them each by name. Psalm 147:4. If I remember every star in the heavens, would I forget a single fragile shoot within your heart? So stop judging yourself with the harshness born of fear. Unopened buds are not proof of worthlessness. Sometimes they are simply waiting for their appointed season, and that season is nearer than you imagine. Let me remind you of a story whose beauty many overlook. When dispute arose over whom I had chosen, Moses was instructed to place the staffs of the tribes before me in the sanctuary. Each staff was merely a dry branch, severed from its root, lifeless by every human measure. Yet by morning, Aaron's staff had not only sprouted but blossomed and borne almonds. What seemed impossible occurred in the silence of the night, not by human hands, but by the power of the one who chooses and gives life. Do you see? I am the God who makes dry wood bud, who turns what appears finished into living evidence of my selection. There are areas within you that you have labeled late, ruined, beyond hope. I do not name them as you do. If my hand rests upon something, it can break forth even where only barrenness was expected. Therefore, do not be ashamed of what once withered in you. I do not use that withering as a sentence. I use it as the stage upon which my restoring power becomes unmistakable. And my beloved, when my gentle rain begins to fall, life does not always appear instantly on the surface. Sometimes roots awaken first. Sometimes the soil must soften. Sometimes hardened layers must gradually dissolve. Sometimes the weeds of anxiety must be pulled up handful by handful. This does not mean nothing is happening. It means much is occurring beneath what your eyes can see. A seed buried in darkness is not dying. It is preparing for a new form. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126:6. I know you have sown through tears, remained faithful in seasons without visible fruit, continued praying when echoes seemed silent. I have seen it all. Not one tear has fallen uselessly upon my ground. Many times those very tears became the first moisture that softened soil you thought had sealed shut forever. So I invite you to stop viewing your soul as a flawed structure deserving rebuke, and begin seeing it as a garden tended by the one who knows which season belongs to which plant, what light each tender shoot requires, how much water each type of soil can bear. You need not panic because everything does not bloom at once. In my garden, some flowers open at dawn. Others release fragrance at dusk. Some seeds lie still through cold months and then suddenly rise when the appointed rain touches them. I do not measure life by human speed. I measure it by perfect timing. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. That is not a vague comfort, but the rhythm of my work. What I am doing within you is neither delayed nor late. It is unfolding according to heaven's clock, and because it is rightly timed, it does not need noise to prove its importance. So now, breathe more slowly, and allow your heart to rest in this truth. I do not come into your garden searching for new reasons to accuse you. I come to water it. I come to trim away vines that never belonged to you. I come to lift branches that have grown heavy. I come to summon light into corners long forgotten. I come to whisper to fragile roots that they have never been abandoned beneath the soil. And when you sense within yourself a softening, a quiet warmth, a slender yet real thread of hope, do not dismiss it. That may be the rain I promised. That may be the moment when seeds you believed had no future begin to stir in silence. Let me tend the rest. Let me be the gardener of your soul once more. Then you will see. What was dry will grow moist again. What was tangled will open. What was heavy will grow lighter. And your entire garden will be changed not by a violent storm, but by my timely gentleness, the gentleness that carries power strong enough to awaken what has long slept. My beloved, I want you now to look back over the path you have walked, not through the weary eyes shaped by unanswered days, but through the light of truth gradually covering every former season. There were years when you stood and saw no movement beneath your feet, prayed and heard no door swing open, held integrity while everything around you seemed slower than you desired. Many times you carried unspoken questions. Does heaven truly see me? Is this quiet perseverance remembered? Will the tears hidden behind my smile ever be touched? And I speak to you with the tenderness of a father who knows every tremor within your heart. Not one day have my eyes departed from you. As it is written, the eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry. Psalm 34:15. You were never lost in the crowd of the world, never swallowed by the shifting tides of time, never set aside at the edge of my purpose. Even when you could not discern my footprints beside yours, I was there, silently bearing what you believed you carried alone. I know there were seasons when you walked as one navigating through early morning mist, each decision heavy, every turning weighted with fear of choosing wrongly, straying from the path, or spoiling something sacred. There were nights when you lay still, while inside you felt like a sky thick with unfallen rain, emotions gathering without forming complete prayers. There were moments when you felt so small that your inner voice seemed to dissolve into vast emptiness, unheard and unseen. But let this truth settle into the most wounded places within you. I do not measure you by outward composure. I look into the hidden chambers of your heart. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. I have witnessed the battles no one else knew. I have seen your faithfulness on days without applause. I have watched you continue stepping forward when strength was thin. Before me, that is not small. Many remain steady only while light shines upon them. But you have learned to stand when promise alone illuminated your path. Therefore, when I say that you are ready, I do not speak as the world speaks. I do not declare you ready because you no longer tremble, no longer fear, no longer carry places that still require healing. I do not wait for you to become flawless before naming a new season over your life. If I used only those who never shake, very few would be chosen. If I opened doors only for those who consider themselves complete, grace would no longer be grace. I call you ready because through seasons you did not understand. You did not release my hand. I call you ready because when you might have closed yourself off, you chose to remain tender instead of hardened. I call you ready because you have learned a lesson that many strong in the flesh never learn, the lesson of being led. As it is written, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. James 4:6. It is this softness, not outward certainty, that makes fertile soil for what I am about to plant. Hard ground may preserve its surface, but it cannot receive seed. Soil softened by rain opens to welcome life. Remember Hagar in the wilderness. driven into a place without visible path, carrying her child in the bitterness of one who felt pushed outside a greater story. That desert held nothing but sun, sand, and the limits of human strength. She laid her son down and withdrew a distance, unable to watch what she feared would come. It was the picture of a soul at its end, a heart that could do nothing but weep. Yet in that place, when every visible hope appeared sealed, I called to her from heaven and opened her eyes to see a well nearby. She named me El Roy, the God who sees, because she realized that even in the wilderness, she was never invisible before me. My beloved, that story is not merely an ancient memory, it is testimony for you today. There have been seasons when you, too, sat in a desert of unanswered questions and wondered whether you had been forgotten. But I remain El Roy, the one who sees. I see before you speak. I see when you can only sigh. I see even when your faith feels incomplete. And if I opened a well for Hagar in the wilderness, I know how to open a spring for you in the place you once thought was only barren ground. So stop interpreting your tender heart as weakness. The world teaches that survival requires hardness, walls, and stone-like defenses to avoid further pain. But I did not create you to become cold stone. I formed you to be soil that receives rain, a garden that bears fruit, a heart that responds when I touch it. A wounded soul that remains soft before me is more precious than a soul that believes itself strong, yet has sealed every entrance. What pleases me after all these years is not that you never grew weary, but that in your weariness you did not choose bitterness as shelter. I call you ready not because you understand everything, but because you still allow me to teach you. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Matthew 5:5. The meek are not weak and undefined. They are those strong enough to place their strength under my direction. And you, through many fractures yet refusing to close your heart, are stepping into that very beauty. So the new season I am opening does not require you to enter wearing armor forged from artificial perfection. I do not need you to prove your worth through achievements, polished appearances, or an image without blemish. I call you to step forward with the honesty of one who has been formed through silence, through waiting, through nights no one else understood. Those seasons were not wasted. They sent your roots deeper. They trained your eyes to look beyond surfaces and to discern my presence. They taught you that true strength is not found in gripping everything tightly, but in being held by me. God is not unjust to forget your work and the love you have shown for his name. Hebrews 6:10. Not one faithful year has been misplaced in heaven's record. Not one trembling step you took in obedience has gone unnoticed. I have gathered every seed of surrender, every tear of endurance, every imperfect yet sincere prayer, and I am weaving them into the next unfolding of your life. Now, my beloved, let your heart rest in this assurance. You have been prepared not by the harsh standards of fear, but by my gentle and profound design. I have not only seen what you endured, I have seen who you became through it. You do not enter this new season carrying only scars. You step in with depth, with a softened spirit, with eyes trained to seek me in darkness, with a heart that understands that sometimes the greatest strength is remaining tender in a world that urges you to harden. So do not hesitate when I call you forward. Do not shrink back when I invite you to receive what is new. That softness within you is the most fertile soil for the rain I am releasing. The places once wounded yet not turned to stone will be the very ground where new growth rises quickest. Lift your head, my beloved, for I have seen you, guarded you, prepared you, and now, with a father's love and the precision of the one who appoints seasons, I tell you, you are ready to bloom in the time I have ordained. And now, I want you to see yourself through another image, not to trouble you, but to reveal how I am working in your life. You are like a vessel that has weathered many storms and was drawn ashore for rest. To outside eyes, the hull appears intact, standing quietly as though nothing remarkable has occurred. But I know every fiber within the marks left by wind, the fatigue from long voyage, the grooves carved by nights spent resisting the pull of sinking. I do not deny those marks. I see them. I understand them. I do not regard them as signs of ruin, but as testimony that you have traveled farther than you realize. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. Isaiah 43:2. If you crossed former waters, it was because I was there. Even in moments when my presence felt distant to you, I do not come to you with a whistle of urgency, driving you back into the sea at once. I am not one who tests you by casting you again into storms, while the wood of your vessel is still drying from the last waves. My call is first an announcement that the waters have risen, not waters of frenzy, but waters of appointed time, not waves of panic, but the current of the right season. You are not required to drag the heavy hull of your life across hardened sand by strained willpower. You do not need to prove you are strong enough to sail again. When I decree that the waters rise, the waters themselves will lift you. When I move the tide, the current will slip beneath your keel, gently separating you from the ground that once held you in place. As it is written, the river of God is full of water, Psalm 65:9. That river does not only nourish fields, it also lifts what has rested too long on shore. I do not force you from the sand by pressure. I soften the sand with water. I do not pull you with ropes. I raise you with the tide. And when you feel the first movement beneath you, do not fear. It is not the trembling of danger, it is the lifting of right timing. My beloved, what I require from you in that moment is not muscular strength, but the softening of trust. The vessel need only yield to the water, not resist, not clutch the shore out of fear of leaving what is familiar. Often what keeps you stranded is not the sand beneath, but the reluctance to depart from shallow safety. I declare that the old shallow waters are no longer your portion. You have remained there long enough. You have learned what was necessary. You have rested until the inner beams were strengthened by my presence. Now, as the waters rise, I do not call you to run, I call you to believe. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. That stillness is not passivity. It is the posture of a soul aware it is being lifted, not pushed. When the water touches the base of your vessel, you will sense an elevation not generated by your own effort. That is how I move you into new positioning, not by coercion, but by support, not by shouting, but by the quiet motion of authority. Understand this clearly. The acceleration I bring does not resemble the kind that causes hearts to race in alarm. The world's acceleration demands that you outrun your strength, juggle endlessly, prove your worth, prevent everything from collapsing. My acceleration is like dawn spreading across a field. The sun does not shout for crops to grow, it simply shines, and growth unfolds in proper rhythm. When I accelerate your life, you will not feel shoved. You will feel relieved of unseen weight. As it is written, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:30. If what you believe comes from me leaves you breathless with strain, you have mistaken my rhythm. For when I open many things at once, I also enlarge your heart to contain them without fracture. When I place multiple opportunities before you, I also infuse peace within you so that you may step without confusion. You will recognize heaven's acceleration by signs, unlike worldly pressure. You will walk more, yet not feel drained. You will accomplish more, yet retain inner rest. You will receive more, yet not be overwhelmed by responsibility. This will not occur because you have suddenly become extraordinary, but because you are no longer relying on yourself alone, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord. Zechariah 4-6. When my breath moves through you, it does not exhaust you, it lightens you. Just as a vessel once afloat no longer drags against sand but is carried by the current beneath, so friction decreases and weight is distributed. You remain the same vessel, yet the environment has changed. It is this new environment, an atmosphere of grace and right timing, that makes movement feel natural again. If at times you feel unsettled because several doors open at once, do not assume you are about to be swept into disorder. Remember the disciples who fished all night and caught nothing, yet at my word, cast their nets once more. The catch was so abundant the nets nearly tore. That was acceleration born of timing, not of their previous striving. They did not change their skill, they changed the voice they obeyed. In the same way, when I say the waters have risen, you need not alter your nature, you need only yield to my rhythm. At the appointed hour, emptiness can turn to abundance in a single moment. So, my beloved, cease dragging yourself across the sand with weary determination. Stop interpreting the scars along your hull as proof that you can no longer sail. Those marks are not weakness, they are the record of survival and growth. I, who was with you in every surge of past waves, now tell you, the water has risen enough to carry you. You do not push yourself into the sea, I bring you. You do not force acceleration, I release light that causes all things to unfold in proper cadence. Keep your heart soft, like wood sensing the touch of water beneath it. Trust the unseen lift supporting you, and allow me to complete the rest. When you enter acceleration born of my breath, you will no longer live by strain but by support. That is how I lead you into your place gently, firmly, at the right time, and in peace. My beloved, I now seal this commissioning not as a fleeting echo, but as an imprint upon your soul. The hour has come for you to step into your inheritance, not an identity you manufactured, not a position you fought to secure, but the portion written into your story before time began its counting. Do not look back as Lot's wife did toward what was left behind and become frozen between past and promise. For the past is no longer your ground. Do not allow former limitations to continue naming you. Do not shrink your spirit to fit a season I have closed. Those who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God, and if children, then heirs. Romans 8:14. See, you are not surviving scraps. You are entrusted with a portion. Understand this clearly. Inheritance is not privilege for display, but stewardship for purpose. When I say you were born to stand in your appointed place, I do not speak of worldly rank, but of precision within. My design, some lie beneath their calling because they hesitate to receive what I have placed within them. They reduce themselves to fit former expectations, to avoid discomfort, to escape the weight of assignment. But you were not formed to hide behind others. You were not shaped to follow worn paths indefinitely. You were crafted to step first where I open the way. Be strong and courageous, for you shall divide this land as an inheritance. Joshua 1:6. I spoke that to Joshua when he stood at the Jordan, facing the memory of a previous generation and the uncertainty of a waiting people. He was not called to repeat Moses, he was called to lead into promise. Likewise, you were not born to linger in yesterday's shadow. You are called to cross the boundary and claim the ground I have prepared. You will open the way first for yourself, because often the greatest barrier is not external but internal. When you dare to believe that I have truly placed you within your inheritance, you will stop diminishing yourself out of fear of failure. When you receive the authority I entrust to you, you will no longer seek permission from fear in order to move forward. Authority is not domination over people. It is governance of your own soul in my light. It is the capacity to bring order into chaos and peace into confusion. I have given you authority, Luke 10:19. That authority is not for self-exaltation. It is so you may tread upon what once trampled you. When you stand firmly in what I assign, the generation after you will walk upon ground already cleared. The souls I send to you will discern the path more clearly because you dared to take the first step. The spiritual territories entrusted to you will no longer remain barren, for someone has accepted the responsibility to tend and guard them. Remember David when he was still a shepherd boy in the wilderness. He did not call himself king. He was faithful over a small flock. Yet when my appointed hour arrived, he could no longer remain among the sheep. The oil poured upon his head was not ornamental. It announced transition. Though Goliath still stood before him, though mockery echoed around him, though years of waiting lay between anointing and throne, David did not return in his heart to his former identity. He knew who he was before me. In the same way, my beloved, there may still be challenges ahead, but do not let them erase the seal I have placed upon you. You were not born to live under the definitions of others. You were born to stand within my affirmation. Therefore I speak decisively, without hesitation or half measure, my child. Rise. Rise from the whispers of inadequacy that once visited you at night. Rise from memories of moments when you believed you were not enough. Rise from comparisons that made you smaller than you are. Step into your inheritance, not as one who seizes, but as one who receives what has been promised. Operate in authority, meaning live with the awareness that each decision you make carries the weight of purpose, that every step you take may open a path for another. Live as one called by heaven, not as one driven by circumstance. Become a forerunner, not to secure remembrance, but because you are faithful to what I have entrusted. Do not look back. Do not doubt. Do not shrink yourself. Before you lies the land of promise. Behind you rests a completed season. I stand before you to open the way, behind you to guard, and within you to strengthen. Now, as you hear my voice within your soul, respond with movement, not words alone. Inheritance is not lived in theory, but in steps taken. I have spoken, and my word over you will not return empty. Thank you for listening to this message. Know this, you are not merely an audience, you are chosen to live daily in the presence of the Word of God. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you will not miss any spiritual message. Amen. My beloved child, listen to me with the deepest part of your soul, for there are truths that are not perceived by the eyes nor explained by the intellect, but are engraved within the depths of the Spirit. I want you to understand that the great turning point in your life does not arrive when the ground trembles or the sky flashes with light, but when the invisible wind shifts according to my will. There are moments that carry no sound, no trumpet blast, no radiant sign, yet they quietly open a new era. It is like the hour before dawn, when the horizon has not yet blushed with light, yet the darkness has already begun to withdraw, and the morning has set out from a place you cannot see. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. Daniel 2:21. And such a change of season does not wait for human agreement, but flows from my eternal purpose. I often begin what is new with a gentle touch. Before you see a door swing open, you will feel your heart grow lighter before circumstances visibly shift. A hope without a clear source will rise within you like an underground spring. That is how I signal to you that I am at work. The wind blows where it wishes, and you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. John 3:8. And in the same way, my movement is not confined by your understanding. You may not yet see the rain, but I have already sent moisture into the soil. You may not yet hear thunder, but I have gathered the clouds above. What I accomplish in stillness is no less powerful than what I perform in the midst of a raging sea. There are seasons when you believe you are standing in the same place. Yet in truth, you have crossed into new territory. Change is not always announced with explosion or spectacle. Often it is like a seed quietly splitting beneath the earth. No one applauds that hidden moment. Yet that moment determines the harvest to come. The seed sprouts and grows, though he does not know how. Mark 4:27. Do you see? Life begins where your eyes cannot observe. Therefore, do not wait for dramatic signs to believe that I am moving. Let your soul discern the shifting rhythm of heaven, even within the silence. I remember the account of Elijah on Mount Horeb. After the days of windstorm, earthquake, and fire, I was not found within those dramatic displays. Yet when a gentle whisper passed by, Elijah perceived that I was there. My presence does not need spectacle to prove its authority. In the same way, when I lead you into a new season, I do not always shake everything around you. I simply touch your heart. And when your heart changes rhythm, all else will follow. Do not mistake silence for absence. There are works I accomplish in secrecy that become the very foundation for the greater things you will later witness. You often search for signs with your eyes, but I desire that you learn to discern with your spirit. Before the sea parted for the people of Israel, before Joshua stepped into the promised land, promises had already been planted in their hearts for many years. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you. Joshua 1:9. The shift began with my words spoken into their minds long before their feet touched new ground. In the same way, I have already whispered to you about what you are about to enter, even though you have not yet seen it take form. Remember Naaman, a commander of great authority yet afflicted with leprosy. He expected a dramatic miracle, a grand display of power. Instead, I instructed him quietly to go down to the Jordan and wash 7 times. In that simple and unremarkable act, healing came. Do you see? My greatest works are often hidden within simplicity. The movement of heaven does not always align with human expectations. Yet when you obey in what seems small, I unfold what is great. Beloved, when I change seasons in your life, the first thing you will sense will not be explosive strength, but an unusual peace, the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds. Philippians 4:7. That peace is the sign that the wind has shifted. It is like parched soil suddenly sensing moisture seeping into its fibers. Even while the sky above still blazes with heat, your soul will know before your eyes can confirm. This is my gift to you, so that you will not be unsettled when circumstances do not immediately reflect what I have already begun. Do not fear quiet seasons. Do not assume that because you see no outward movement, I am inactive. Such seasons are when I reposition you. I arrange details you cannot perceive. I realign connections. I open doors from afar long before you approach them. The Lord goes before you. He will be with you. Deuteronomy 31:8. You never step into a new season that I have not already prepared. Therefore, when you sense a subtle shift in your spirit, when you find yourself no longer bound by old anxieties, when faith rises without visible evidence, know that I am redirecting your path. Do not wait for thunder to believe. Believe in the whispering wind. Do not wait for the sea to part before you move. Move when I speak, for it is within peace that I exercise absolute power. And when you look back, you will realize that everything began to change in the very moment you simply sensed the faintest stirring, yet it came from heaven. My beloved child, incline your heart toward me, for there are words that do not come to frighten you, but to awaken you from hesitation. There is a moment I appointed long before you knew you existed. And when that hour strikes, no latch will be able to hold the door shut. No darkness will be thick enough to conceal what I bring into the light. What I open, no one can shut. And what I shut, no one can open. Revelation 3:7. What was once sealed will unfold like a bud meeting the sun. What was hidden in silence will step into the open square. What was restrained will move forward without resistance. You may have believed that you needed greater strength, greater ability, or better circumstances to reach the inheritance promised to you. But I tell you the truth, the decisive factor is not in your hands, but in my intention. When I choose, no one can rewrite it. When I appoint the time, no one can delay it. When I call your name, no voice is powerful enough to erase you. Do not confuse the urgency of this hour with human pressure. I do not drive you by fear. I awaken you through precision. Like a watchman on the city wall who sees the first light touch the mountain peak and knows the night is over while the city still sleeps. I see your dawn before you recognize it. The righteous will shine out like the dawn, and their salvation like a blazing torch. Isaiah 62:1. Therefore, do not step back. Do not withdraw. Do not slow yourself down. Stand as one who has received a command from heaven. Open your heart as one entrusted with a portion. Move forward as one who has already touched the light. This resolve does not arise from your striving, but from the season having shifted according to my will. You once thought you were not ready. You looked at what you lacked and questioned whether you were sufficient to carry what I promised. But I ask you, who placed the calling upon you? Who inscribed your name within the design? You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you. John 15:16. My choosing is not based on your performance, nor shaken by the weaknesses you have known. I do not wait for you to be flawless before granting authority. I grant authority so that you may grow into fullness within me. And once I have set my seal upon you, no circumstance can erase it. Remember Esther, the orphaned girl who entered a palace within a powerful empire. She did not seize the throne for herself. She was positioned at the appointed time. When danger threatened her people, Mordecai said, "Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Esther 4:14. Do you see? My timing does not arrive by accident. It ripens according to a design woven long beforehand. Esther did not step forward by her own force. She moved within an arrangement already prepared. In the same way, you do not enter this hour because you forced a door open, but because I turned the key long ago. When I determine the moment, the setting shifts, and the one who once seemed small becomes an instrument for something greater than they imagined. I tell you this, on the day I have appointed, the heavens do not remain still. What is unseen begins to move. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. Psalm 34:7. You are not alone as you step across a new threshold. The forces I commission operate with greater clarity and directness, guiding you to the right place, the right people, the right position. This is not a distant promise or a vague possibility. It is the present moment arriving. When I declare that the hour has come, currents shift, winds change direction, and you yourself are repositioned. Yet I also remind you, do not walk as one who hesitates. Do not cling to what I have told you to release. Do not doubt what I have already confirmed. Delay is no longer your portion, for the season of delay has closed. What once blocked your path will dissolve like mist before the rising sun. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. You are not required to move mountains by your own strength. You are only called to stand where I have placed you. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, they had no bridge, no vessel, no escape plan. But when I spoke, The waters parted not because they were powerful, but because the appointed time had arrived. Therefore, beloved, receive this hour with wholehearted trust. Let your heart open like a door whose bolts have just been removed. Let your steps be firm like one who knows they are being led. I am not saying perhaps, nor someday. I am saying now, when I call your name in the appointed hour, no one can conceal you. No one can slow you. No one can obstruct what I have decreed. The decisive factor does not lie in your effort, but in my intention. And when you look back, you will understand that all your waiting was preparation for this precision. The days that seemed delayed were the days I was arranging every detail. The moments you thought you were restrained were times I was protecting you from stepping out of rhythm. Now that I declare the time ripe, you no longer need to chase the future. You simply need to step into it. For when I determine the hour, the heavens shift. When I open the door, the path becomes clear. When I call, you are established. And in that transformation, you do not merely enter a new season, you become a new person within me. My beloved, when you look back upon the paths that felt covered in thorns, you will see something astonishing. The very place where you thought you were about to break was where I was quietly laying your strongest foundation. The growth of your soul was not born in days of warmth and ease, but in long nights when you held yourself upright by a thread of faith. I never took my eyes off you in those hours. When you sat in silence at your desk, burdened by unanswered questions. When you opened your eyes each morning with a heaviness pressing upon your heart, I was there. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. Not a single sigh escaped you without my hearing it. Not a single tear fell without my counting it. You believed you were alone. Yet I was building within you a structure the world could not see. I know there were nights when you clung to only the faintest glimmer of hope, a fragile thread of faith keeping you from surrender. And within that very smallness, I was accomplishing something vast. My power is made perfect in weakness, 2 Corinthians 12:9. You believed you were growing weaker, yet in truth, you were being strengthened. Each time you chose what was right while your heart was weary. Each time you continued forward, though, your legs trembled. I added another beam to the inner framework of your spirit. That structure was not formed in applause, but in the quiet endurance of faithfulness. When the new season unfolds, you will not collapse under its weight, because the sinews I formed within you were tempered in the fire of testing. There were seasons when you felt buried, like a seed hidden beneath heavy soil, without light, unseen and unrecognized. You wondered whether I had forgotten you amid the countless movements of life. But I tell you now, you were not hidden to be neglected. You were hidden to be preserved. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. John 12:24. The seed must remain in darkness before it reaches the light. Roots must deepen before the trunk can rise. You did not perceive that preparation. Yet I saw every root in your soul anchoring more firmly each time you wept, spreading wider each time you forgave, and growing stronger each time you refused to quit. Remember Joseph, from radiant dreams to a dark pit, from a robe of many colors to chains in prison. He could have believed his life was buried. Yet it was within confinement that I shaped his leadership, his discernment, and his steadfast heart. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Genesis 50:20. What others labeled as failure became the foundation of elevation. In the same way, the days you thought you had reached the bottom were not your ending, but the excavation of deeper foundations so you could carry greater responsibility. I saw you in each fragile moment. I saw when you stood at the crossroads of giving up or continuing to believe. and you chose faith. I saw when you could have turned away, yet you turned back toward me. I saw when you no longer had strength for long prayers and could only whisper, "Hold me." And I did. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken. Psalm 125, 1. You did not feel like a mountain, yet your steadfastness was growing day by day, quietly formed through every trial. There were times when you felt left behind, as though others were stepping into the light while you remained in shadow. But that shadow was not punishment. It was a greenhouse where I cultivated deep roots. A tree that grows tall without strong roots will fall when the winds rise. I kept you hidden so your roots could drive deep into the soil of faith. And when the strong winds of a new season begin to blow, you will not be uprooted. For your foundation was established in the days no one saw. Do not be ashamed of your tears. Do not diminish the hours when you believed yourself to be weak. It is precisely through those moments that I form true strength within you. Strength is not the absence of falling, but the willingness to rise again. Strength is not the absence of fear, but the courage to continue walking despite it. Each time you chose to stand when you could have remained down, I etched endurance deeper into your soul, an endurance no storm can undo. Therefore, when the new season unfolds, you will not enter it as one untested. You will step forward as one refined. You will stand as one who has endured long nights and knows that dawn is real. Within you is the firm framework I quietly constructed, a structure not easily fractured, not easily shaken. And when others see you steady under pressure, they will not realize that such strength was forged in the nights you felt most fragile. Beloved, do not interpret your past days as failures. See them instead as the training ground of your spirit. Every trial was a discipline. Every tear allowed another root to press deeper. I did not abandon you, I was preparing you. When you grasp this truth, you will no longer fear dark seasons. For you will understand that in the darkness I accomplish my most profound work in you. My beloved child, there are burdens you carried in silence that no one on earth ever knew, yet not one of them escaped my sight. I know the times you chose silence over retaliation, the steps you took backward not out of weakness but to preserve the purity of your heart. I saw the righteous decisions that drew no applause, the hidden sacrifices that went unrecognized. You surrendered things that once delighted your heart, restrained words that might have relieved your anger, accepted loss to spare another from harm. And I say to you today, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown. Hebrews 6:10. Not a single drop of your sweat was wasted. Not a single sigh fell unnoticed. The nights you poured out your prayers while the world slept, I was listening. The times you held on to faith while your heart ached, I was watching. There are sacrifices you never spoke of for fear of being misunderstood or dismissed. Yet I preserve them like incense rising before my throne. May my prayer be set before you like incense. Psalm 141:2. Each time you chose what was right instead of what was easy. Each time you placed righteousness above personal gain, I recorded it as evidence that your soul was maturing. You were not merely enduring, you were being shaped. I know there were moments you felt disadvantaged, as though your guarded integrity went unseen. But I saw your restraint when you could have struck back and chose not to. I saw your heart soften when it might have hardened. I saw you relinquish opportunity rather than compromise your integrity. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5:8. That purity did not emerge effortlessly. It was formed through quiet and painful decisions. And I have used those very choices to fortify your spirit for the glory that lies ahead. It is not by accident that I often unveil turning points at the break of dawn. Dawn is not the blazing brightness of noon. It is the gentle transition between night and day. Light has appeared but has not yet reached its full radiance. Hope has risen but is not yet fully defined. That moment mirrors your own soul. You have passed through enough darkness to cherish the light. You have been softened through trial so that you can receive what is new without arrogance. You have learned how to wait without losing the sincerity of your heart. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. That morning does not arrive by chance. It is the fruit of a long night you faithfully endured. Remember Hannah, the woman once regarded as barren and misunderstood in the temple, as she poured out her anguish in prayer. No one comprehended her sorrow. Yet I heard her whisper in the quiet of her distress. From that hidden prayer I gave her Samuel, a prophet who would shape an entire generation. The Lord remembered her. 1 Samuel 1:19. Do you see? Prayers unknown to others can open a new season for the future. Faithfulness in the dark is always answered by me in the light. Beloved, the sacrifices you considered small have become the foundation for greater entrusted gifts. I do not bestow glory upon those who have not learned humility. I do not release a new season to a soul unrefined. You walk through the furnace without losing your tenderness. You cross through night without surrendering your faith. Therefore, when I open your dawn, you will not be overwhelmed by its brightness. You will receive it with a peace formed long before. This is a moment of transition. Light has touched the horizon of your soul. Shadows of night may still linger, yet the new day has already begun. Do not fear the indistinct edges of this hour. It is within the dawn that I carry you from testing into destiny. You are no longer merely one who endured. You are one who has been prepared. The seeds you sowed quietly through tears will bloom in the light. I have preserved them all, and I will return them to you at the appointed time, so that you step into your new season, not with pride, but with deep gratitude and a heart kept whole within me. My beloved child, there is a form of solitude no words can fully express. It is not the absence of people around you, but the inward separation of the soul when you sense you are called to something greater than what your eyes can see. Yet no one else perceives it. I have watched you walk through such days. You continued to smile, to work, to stand among crowds, while within you was a profound stillness. Others did not understand why you could not compromise with what was easy, why you could not settle for good enough, why you could not live an ordinary life as many do. But I understand, for it was I who placed that calling within you. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. That setting apart always carries with it a sense of distinction. When I place within you a calling that exceeds your present reality, you will never be at ease with mediocrity. You may try to blend in, yet your soul will resist. You may attempt to live as those around you, yet deep within there will be a persistent urging to rise. That calling is not noise, it is a steady heartbeat within you, reminding you that your life was not designed to settle at the level of the ordinary. I know there were times when you questioned why you had to wait so long. Why could you not step immediately into what I promised? Why did others seem to advance more quickly while you walked through quiet circles of preparation? But, my child, what is entrusted to you cannot be handed over in an unrefined night, nor released in a light that has not yet prepared you to receive it. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. I am not slow, I am precise. That precision may make you feel alone at times, because you are living in the space between promise and fulfillment. This calling within you will not allow compromise with what is wrong, even when compromise would be easier. It will not permit you to remain in comfort when I am urging you forward. It will not let you pretend to be ordinary when I have marked you with a different destiny. You may experience it as a burden, but I see it as a seal. No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. Luke 9:62. Once I have placed your hand upon the plow of your calling, you no longer belong to half-hearted ways of living. There were nights when you felt out of place in the world, as though you did not fully belong anywhere. Yet that sense of displacement is evidence that your soul is oriented towards something higher. You were not created merely to exist. You were created to carry out what I have ordained. Therefore, your turning point cannot arrive casually. It must come on the appointed day, at the appointed hour, at the precise moment of dawn when night has fulfilled its purpose and light is ready to be received. Dawn is the intersection of two realities. Darkness has not completely disappeared, yet light has begun to prevail. That is the image of you. You have journeyed deeply enough through trial that you no longer fear the dark. You have learned enough lessons that you will not be overwhelmed by the light. I do not release inheritance while you are immature, nor do I withhold it once you are ready. I give when your soul is mature enough to carry glory without losing yourself. Therefore, do not interpret your solitude as evidence that you are off course. See it instead as confirmation that you are walking a path few understand, yet one I have designed. You are not forgotten among the crowd. You are set apart for preparation. And when the hour I appointed arrives, you will understand that every waiting day, every moment of feeling different, every sense of not belonging to the former place was part of my design. Beloved, I am the one who placed the calling within you, and I am also the one who will complete it. When I open your dawn, solitude will become affirmation. The silent years will become the foundation for a clear voice, and you will step into your inheritance not as one surprised, but as one long prepared, deepened in darkness, strengthened in waiting, and established in the very calling I inscribed upon your heart. My beloved child, receive my words with the gravity of something inscribed in eternity. The turning point before you will not merely redirect your path, it will elevate who you are. From that moment onward, you will no longer be perceived as one waiting for a better future. You will be recognized as one who carries an appointed inheritance. The Spirit Himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs. Romans 8:16-17. You are no longer sustained by fragile hope. You walk in the identity of one who belongs to the estate. Understand this clearly. Inheritance is not a sentimental gift granted out of pity. It is the rightful portion of a son or daughter. No force can seize it. No spirit can distort it. No person can replace the position I have determined for you. What belongs to you was written into my intention before you learned to speak your own name. Blessed is the one you choose and bring near. Psalm 65:4. That choosing does not fluctuate with circumstances. It stands firm upon my decree. Through the years, I have kept your portion in the treasury of heaven, as a father reserves the finest portion for a child not yet strong enough to carry it. You may have believed you were delayed, yet you were being shielded from a weight beyond your earlier capacity. I do not release prematurely what would cause you to stagger. I wait until your soul is deep, your faith resilient, and your identity secure. Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. Luke 16:10. The days you persevered in small responsibilities were evidence that you were maturing for greater ones. I saw every step you took through testing. I watched you endure without bitterness, wait without abandoning trust, stumble without losing your sense of who you are. The furnaces you interpreted as delay were in fact reinforcement. Just as gold is refined in fire to remove impurities, I use circumstances to reveal and strengthen what is genuine within you. Your faith more precious than gold, though tested by fire. 1 Peter 1:7. You were not merely tested, you were refined to carry what I am about to place in your hands. Remember the story of the prodigal son. When he returned, the father did more than forgive. He restored the finest robe, the ring, and the sandals, signs of heirship. Bring out the best robe and put it on him. Luke 15:22. Do you see? Position is not erased by a difficult journey. What belongs to you because you are a child remains yours. Yet, there must be return, growth, and awareness of identity for that inheritance to be worn rightly. You have walked that path. You have grown through seasons of testing without losing humility. And now you are prepared to bear what has always been yours. Now, I declare, you have matured enough to carry your portion, not because weakness has vanished from you, but because you have learned how to stand firm within it, not because you have become flawless, but because you have come to know that you belong to me. Inheritance is not entrusted to one still searching for identity, it is given to one who is settled within it. You are no longer someone striving for recognition. You are one who knows you are affirmed from heaven. From the moment this turning point unfolds, your stature will shift. The way you think will expand. The way you walk will steady. The way you interpret challenges will transform. You will no longer react as one defined by lack. You will move as one secure in portion. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. Psalm 16:5. What is yours is not fragile. It is safeguarded by me. Therefore, do not fear the responsibility that accompanies inheritance. Do not retreat when I lift you higher. I do not entrust this to you for pride, but for purpose. You will not stand outside the threshold looking inward. You will step inside as one invited and appointed. You are not merely hoping, you are carrying. Beloved, I have awaited this moment no less than you have. I have watched you grow through every trial and persevere through every season of waiting. When I say you are ready, it is not consolation, it is confirmation. You are deep enough in identity, steady enough in faith, mature enough in humility. Receive your portion with gratitude and steadiness. For what I give is not temporary, it is yours within an eternal design. My child, what I have prepared for you surpasses what the world calls achievement. It is not an object you can grasp, nor a title you can wear for human approval. What I have ordained is the capacity to function within the current I inscribed for your life from the beginning. When you step into that flow, you no longer chase opportunity, you become its source. I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut. Revelation 3:8. That door was not constructed by human hands. It was opened by my authority. And when I open it, you step through with the assurance of an heir. Understand this, when you stand in the place I appointed, your words cease to be mere speech. They become declaration. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Matthew 16:19. This promise is not for those who seek status, but for those rooted in identity. When you speak in union with me, your words carry weight. When you close what must be closed, it remains sealed. When you open according to my will, the current begins to move freely. This authority does not arise from effort, but from alignment between you and me. From the beginning I declared, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Genesis 1:28. That charge was not limited to an ancient generation. It reflects the design of those I have chosen. You were not created to survive within the boundaries of fear or compromise. You were formed to shape the environment you enter. When your feet touch ground under the authority I grant, the atmosphere begins to shift, not because you display force, but because light causes darkness to retreat. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. I anoint you first not in the realm visible to human eyes, but in the deeper sphere of spiritual influence. This influence does not require applause to exist. It does not depend on recognition to be legitimate. It flows from my placement of you in position. When you walk in the peace of one who knows they belong to me, your presence itself becomes a catalyst. You will notice that in certain places you enter, the atmosphere grows lighter, that wandering hearts begin to find direction simply because you are there. You will not need to raise your voice to be heard. Even your silence will carry meaning. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Matthew 5:13-14. Salt does not need noise to preserve. Light does not need validation to shine. Remember Peter when he entered Lydda and Sharon. Scripture records that many turned to the Lord not merely because of his words, but because authority moved through his presence. Acts 9. This is evidence that when I confer authority, environments respond. You do not need to strain to generate influence. Influence flows naturally when you remain aligned with me. Darkness does not debate with light, it withdraws. Beloved, do not confuse authority with pressure. Authority is the deep peace of one who knows they have been commissioned. It does not coerce, threaten, or parade itself. It simply exists and operates. When you live within the current I have written for you, those who are searching will sense something within you. They may not be able to name it, but their spirits will recognize it. This is not the magnetism of personality, it is the imprint of heaven. I do not grant you authority so that you may elevate yourself. I grant it so that you may restore what has been distorted. When you step into territory I assign, you carry order into chaos, hope into confusion, light into obscurity. This is the governance I intended, not control over people, but transformation of atmosphere, not dominance by force, but influence through rightful authority. Therefore, do not strive to prove yourself. Do not chase recognition. I positioned you long before others perceived it. Walk with steadiness. Speak in unity with me. Open and close according to my guidance. And you will see environments shift not because you struggle to change them, but because I have entrusted you with the authority to function within an eternal current. This is your true inheritance, irrevocable, irreplaceable, and beyond nullification because it was established by me. My beloved child, listen to the commissioning I place upon you in this hour. I lift you into a realm of decision, no longer choices driven by fear, but confirmations born from union with me. In the previous season, you weighed each path with heaviness, hesitant at every intersection for fear of missteps, loss, or mistiming. But in this season, I place within you a certainty that does not arise from reasoning alone, but from my presence at the center of every decision. The Lord will guide you continually. Isaiah 58:11. That guidance is not noise from without. It is clarity within your mind and peace that steadies your soul. An heir does not scatter in search of answers. An heir walks with answers engraved in identity. You will discern which path I open and which I close, not through dramatic signs, but through a peace so deep it cannot be shaken. The peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds. Philippians 4:7. When you stand before two directions, you will no longer look as one uncertain. You will sense as one trained to recognize heaven's rhythm. You will not decide as one searching for direction, but as one confirming a path long written. Remember Solomon when he was young and faced with immense responsibility. He did not ask for wealth or fame, but for an understanding heart to govern well. 1 Kings 3. And I granted him wisdom beyond mere intellect. Do you see? Right decisions are not always the product of calculation. They emerge from connection. When I dwell at the center of your thoughts, clarity becomes natural. You will walk with confidence that is not boastful, because you know you do not decide alone. I also commission you in the realm of receiving. There was a time when you accepted small gifts with gratitude, yet deep within you questioned whether you were worthy. Your humility was sincere, but at times it carried the shadow of insecurity. I tell you now, humility is not the denial of your worth. it is the acknowledgement that your worth flows from me. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights. James 1:17. You do not receive because you are flawless. You receive because I have chosen you. In this season, I remove from you the trembling posture of one afraid to grow too quickly. I replace it with the stance of an heir who knows their portion has been secured. An heir does not flinch when entrusted. They extend their hands and receive, not from pride, but from understanding, identity. Just as a father places a ring and robe upon his returning son, Luke 15. The inheritance is rooted not in performance, but in relationship. You will learn to receive without apology, to accept without retreating, to grow without shrinking back for fear of exceeding some invisible boundary. I am not threatened by your growth. It is my desire that you mature and expand into all I have prepared for you. Do not confuse growth with ambition. I am not pushing you toward the spotlight of human attention. I am enlarging you in the depth of the Spirit, until we all reach the full measure of the stature of Christ. Ephesians 4:13. The maturity I speak of is not applause, but capacity. Capacity to hold blessing without losing yourself. Capacity to carry influence without pride. Capacity to receive without shrinking in insecurity. Beloved, when I establish you in the realm of decision, you are no longer shaken by the fear of being wrong. When I establish you in the realm of receiving, you no longer recoil because of unworthiness. You walk as one who has been formed. You receive as one who has been affirmed. And in both, I remain with you. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will make straight your paths. Proverbs 3:5-6. That guidance is the assurance behind your decisions. My choosing is the foundation beneath what you receive. Therefore, open your hands and your heart. Decide with clarity and receive with steadiness. The new season does not merely alter circumstances, it transforms how you operate. You are no longer one waiting to be entrusted. You are one already entrusted and learning to carry it well. And I rejoice to see you grow not in the gaze of the world, but in the depths of heaven, my beloved child. Now I place upon you another commissioning, the realm of stepping into position. There was a time when you stood at the margins, watching others advance and wondering whether your name would ever be called. You once waited for permission, sought approval from voices that carried no authority from me. But I declare that season has passed. You no longer stand beside your portion, you stand within it. The Lord makes firm the steps of the righteous and delights in their way. Psalm 37:23. When I establish your steps, you do not require additional validation from places I have not authorized. Understand this clearly. Stepping into position is not arrogance, it is awareness. Arrogance lifts itself up. You simply move with my lifting hand. God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. James 4:6. You are not pushing to be seen. You are entering what I have opened. And when I open a door, no one can shut it. Revelation 3:7. That door does not depend on your striving. It depends on your readiness. There were years when you questioned whether you were sufficient to step forward. You looked at others and compared. You looked at circumstances and hesitated. But an heir does not chase authority. An heir receives the position entrusted. Remember, Joshua, after Moses passed, he did not appoint himself as leader, I declared. Be strong and courageous, for you shall cause this people to inherit the land I swore to give them. Joshua 1:6. My word established his position. In the same way, your place is not secured by the approval of the crowd, but by what I spoke long ago. You will no longer linger outside the threshold of opportunity, nor ask others to open what I have already prepared. When you step in, you will know within that you belong there. Not a surge of impulse, but a confirming peace. I will go before you and level the exalted places. Isaiah 45:2. I move ahead of you to prepare the way. You need only follow. And as you do, you will not feel as though you are intruding upon another space. You will sense alignment, like a key fitting perfectly into its lock. Recall Esther when she entered the king's presence without summons. It was not reckless pride, it was the courage of one who knew the moment had arrived. When she stepped forward, the door did not close. Favor extended. There are moments when you must rise and assume your position not to be seen. But because if you do not move, what I entrusted would be delayed. True humility is not shrinking back. It is standing exactly where I have placed you. I do not call you to force your way through sealed doors. I call you into spaces already prepared. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He sets me on high places. Psalm 18:33. When I elevate you, you do not need to lift yourself. When I bring you in, you do not need excessive explanation. Those aligned with your season will recognize it. Those who are not will depart. The position I grant carries heaven's authentication. Beloved, release the habit of seeking permission from voices I have not authorized. You are no longer the one asking, "Should I?" You are the one who knows. I have been called. Yet, keep your heart tender. For your certainty flows not from ego, but from intimacy with me. You do not exalt yourself. You yield to my lifting hand. And when you stand in position, you will witness something remarkable. It is not that you strain to change the environment adjusts to the presence you carry. When I place you where you belong, the atmosphere recognizes that authority. Step in with peace, with humility, and with resolve. This door is yours, not because you competed for it, but because I opened it. My beloved child, hear me now. I place upon you a commissioning of acceleration, but not a speed born of anxiety or self-driven effort. This is not a race, nor an attempt to outrun by your own strength. It is the rhythm that emerges when you stand in the place I have ordained. Right position carries the right current, and the right current carries the appropriate pace. When you are centered in my will, you do not need to force movement, you simply align and flow. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Proverbs 16:9. When I guide, you do not push. Think of a vessel upon the open sea. If it rows against the current, it exhausts itself and still moves slowly. But when it enters the strong current, aligned with its course, it is carried far without excessive strain. So it is with you. This season does not require you to increase pressure. It calls you to settle into the place I have assigned. When you stand where I have positioned you, time no longer chases you as an adversary, it becomes your companion. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. That beauty is not merely the outcome, it is the synchronization between you and the appointed hour. There were years when you felt slowed, as though held back while others advanced quickly. Yet those pauses were not regression, they were alignment. Just as an arrow must be drawn backward before it is released to travel far, I held you in restraint to prepare you for momentum. And when the moment comes, the arrow is no longer tense, it flies along its ordained trajectory. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall soar on wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Soaring does not come from strain, but from renewed strength I impart. I declare that in this season, opportunities will no longer pass before you as unreachable prospects. They will come toward you, because you have been set at the right coordinates. Doors once sealed will open not because you knocked harder, but because you have arrived at the appointed time. What once felt heavy will grow lighter, for you are no longer bearing it alone. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:30. When you walk with me, the nature of the burden changes. You will notice that what once seemed distant is drawn near. What once moved slowly begins to quicken. not because you are running faster, but because the current has shifted. Remember Peter, who labored through the night without catching anything. Yet when I instructed him to cast the net at the right place, the catch overflowed. Luke 5. An entire night of effort did not equal a single act aligned with the moment. Your acceleration in this season is the same. It does not arise from hours of exertion, but from obedience at the appointed time. Beloved, do not confuse acceleration with haste. Acceleration is when all things move in harmony, your soul at peace, your mind clear, your steps in rhythm with my will. You are no longer dragged by former delays. Time that once caused anxiety now becomes the foundation that supports you. I do not send you running ahead of me. I move you forward with me. And when I move, you move. Therefore, guard your heart in its proper alignment. Do not drift to the left through fear, nor veer to the right through ambition. Remain at the center of the current I have written for you. From that place, momentum will arise naturally. You will look back and marvel at how far you have traveled without exhaustion. You will see what once seemed like distant dreams now standing close before you, and you will understand acceleration is not about moving faster, but about being positioned correctly within my eternal design. My beloved child, now I place upon you the final seal, the realm of legacy. You no longer walk only for the present day, nor merely toward immediate goals. Your life is woven into a tapestry broader than your sight can comprehend. You do not live solely for those beside you, but for the footsteps that will follow long after yours have passed. The Lord keeps covenant and steadfast love with those who love Him to 1,000 generations. Deuteronomy 7:9. What I cultivate in you today will echo across generations. Understand this clearly. Legacy is not a record of accomplishments, nor a name preserved in memory. Legacy is a current one that springs from faithfulness, flows through refinement, and leaves a lasting imprint. You may achieve many things, but what endures is not the height you reached, but the integrity of your soul as you ascended. The righteous who walks in his integrity, blessed are his children after him. Proverbs 20:7. That integrity becomes the foundation upon which others build. There were seasons when you stood in obscurity, unaware of who might be watching. Yet I tell you, what you sow in quietness becomes a pathway for those who follow. Remember Abraham, who left his homeland without knowing his destination. He walked by faith, and that obedience became the foundation of a nation. Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. Romans 4:3. The faith of one can shape the destiny of many. So it is with you. Your perseverance today does more than sustain you. It prepares a way for others to learn how to stand through the witness of your life. True legacy is not measured by how much you acquire, but by what remains steadfast when trials come. It is a current of enduring faith, a stream of perseverance through adversity, a testimony of one who stood when collapse seemed near, who believed without sight, who walked in light while shadows lingered. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed. 2 Corinthians 4-8. Every time you stood firm, you declared to the generations to come that resilience is possible. I have not called you merely to succeed. I have called you to usher in a new season. When you step into the timing I have ordained, you do more than alter your own circumstances. You create space for those who will come after you. As Joshua led the people across the Jordan, stones of remembrance were raised to testify that heaven had moved. Do you see? The actions of one generation become the memory that shapes another. Therefore I declare, with final authority as the giver of seasons, rise into your inheritance. Do not narrow your vision to the present moment. Do not confine your steps to what feels easy or safe. You are called to live with the awareness that every decision you make today is writing the history of tomorrow. Step into your heirship with humility. yet with firmness. Operate as one commissioned not from pride, but from responsibility. You do not live only for yourself. You live to shape the atmosphere for a generation. You live to demonstrate that faithfulness in darkness is never wasted. You live to reveal that testing does not extinguish, calling it refines it until it shines. And when you complete this journey, those who follow will find a clearer path because you dared to walk first. So, my beloved, live as one appointed to shift seasons. Believe as one who knows they do not walk alone. Stand as one established. Your legacy is not something that begins after you are gone. It begins today in every step you choose, in every word you release, in every decision you hold steady. And I am with you, from generation to generation, ensuring that the current I began in you will not run dry. My child, when you leave this word, you do not depart as one merely comforted, but as one sealed with heaven's affirmation. What I have spoken does more than stir emotion. It repositions you. You do not carry away a motivational phrase. You carry an irreversible mark. He who has sealed us and given us the Spirit in our hearts as a guarantee, 2 Corinthians 1:22. That seal is not upon your flesh. It is engraved within your spirit, where no force can erase it. From this moment forward, you no longer stand at the threshold with questioning eyes. You are not suspended between entry and retreat. You have crossed over. The threshold is no longer a barrier before you. It is a milestone behind you. You are no longer waiting for someone to authorize your entrance. You have been commissioned. The Lord will make you the head and not the tail. You shall be above only, and not beneath. Deuteronomy 28:13. This does not speak of social rank. It speaks of spiritual establishment. You have been placed within your portion, and that placement does not depend on the world's consent. You are no longer one who seeks permission from voices that hold no authority over your life. You no longer knock in fear, nor do you ask for validation from those who were never entrusted with confirming you. I have commissioned you, and when I commission, legitimacy is established from eternity. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me, Matthew 28:18. And from that authority I send you. You are not self-appointed, you are sent. Therefore, walk with a strong and anchored peace, not a fragile peace shaped by circumstance, but the peace of one who knows they have been positioned correctly. Your steps are no longer hesitant, they are steady, like one who has seen the map from above. You do not need to keep turning back to check whether you stand in the right place. You know, and that knowing carries the weight of authority. Do not fear if the coming days carry challenge. Trial does not have the power to overturn what I have established. Winds may rise, but your roots have been driven deep. Voices of doubt may sound, but the seal I have placed within you resounds louder. Nothing can reverse what has been spoken from my throne. For I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for harm. Jeremiah 29:11. That intention is not altered by human reaction. My beloved, step out from this word as one bearing the responsibility of being positioned. Do not bow your head in fear, nor lift it in pride, but walk in humility, filled with certainty. You have been placed into your portion. You have crossed the threshold. You have received the commission. From here forward, every step you take will no longer be exploratory, but confirmatory, affirming what was written for you before the dawn of creation. And now, before you continue in the seal of legacy I have set upon your life, incline your heart deeply and let your inner voice rise like incense in the holy place. Open your soul before me with complete sincerity, offering yourself wholly in prayer without concealment. Almighty God, you who inscribed destiny before the first light of my life, I ask that you strengthen my heart to carry the weight of one called into inheritance. Do not allow me to live carelessly in days of ease. nor to withdraw when trials arise. But grant me a spirit steadfast as a pillar within your temple, so that generations to come may look upon my life and find an unshakable foundation. Teach me to remain conscious that every step I take today engraves the future of those yet unborn, so that I will never despise quiet faithfulness. For it is in hidden places that you are building a current that will endure. Eternal Father, I also pray that you would refine the motives within me, so that what I leave behind is not mingled with the pursuit of reputation, but purified by love and reverent awe. Let my words carry life, my decisions carry light, and my actions reflect your radiance. Make me a bridge between promise and fulfillment, so that those who follow will not have to grope through darkness, but may walk upon a path illuminated by a life of faithfulness. Keep my soul tender before your leading, yet resilient under pressure. Let me not lose humility when I am lifted up, nor lose courage when I must stand alone. O you who appoint seasons and turn the times, grant me spiritual sight to discern the moments of your movement, so that I will not fall out of rhythm in decisive hours, nor miss the openings that shape generations. Teach me not to live only for the present, but to remember that every choice today is writing a chapter for tomorrow. Plant within me a steadfast faith that holds firm in obscurity, so that when those who come after look back, they will see a life that trusted you to the end. Enable me to stand firm in testing, not to display my own strength, but to testify that your grace is sufficient in every circumstance. Lord of life, I lift this petition before you. Place upon my lips words that build, upon my hands deeds that bless, and within my heart a love large enough to cover the shortcomings of others. Let me pass on not merely achievements, but faith, not merely influence, but character, not merely stories of success, but a steadfast identity rooted in you. Keep the current flowing from my life, from being obstructed by fear or weariness. Let it continue to move through every soul I am called to touch. And when I feel weak, remind me that it is precisely in weakness that your power is most clearly revealed. Faithful Father, I also ask for endurance that does not falter midway through the journey. When contrary winds arise, keep me from turning back. And when darkness settles, guard me from doubting your promise. Make my life a marker of hope in a generation quick to lose heart, a voice of truth amid a multitude of competing sounds. Let my story not remain isolated, but become a song that strengthens those who come after and in difficult decisions. Grant me the courage to choose what is right over what is easy, obedience over compromise, light over shadow. Amid these petitions, my heart also rises in deep gratitude. O Keeper of Covenant, I thank you for the years in which you quietly formed me through every circumstance, for the times you upheld me when I believed I would collapse, for the moments you sheltered me without my awareness. I understand now that without those seasons I would not have grown deep enough to carry this inheritance. Without those refinements I would not have become humble enough to steward what is entrusted. What once caused pain has become preparation for transition. Each trial, a measured rhythm leading into a new season. And Lord of all grace, I offer you thanks from the innermost place of my soul, because you have trusted me enough to lay upon my life a weighty calling. I know I am not worthy by my own strength, yet I am chosen in love. I thank you that you have given me not only a path to walk, but a current to sustain the journey, that you have revealed legacy not as something I construct alone, but as something you initiate and bring to completion. Now, with humility joined to conviction, I rise into my portion, not shrinking back, not hesitating, but walking in the light you have placed before me, so that my life may stand as evidence that you are the one who fulfills all that you have promised. Thank you for listening to this message. Know this: You are not merely an audience. You are chosen to live daily in the presence of the Word of God. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you will not miss any spiritual message. Amen.